Oh, he's got short hair now.
Yeah. We've got no dreadlocks and, wear collared shirts. It makes all the difference. But no, what Michael's saying is right. And I suppose for the average person, it's quite confusing. There's always, let alone that, the messages coming out are confusing. And when we're talking about politics and so forth, there really is two sides to the story all the time. So, look, we started doing mail order medical cannabis like over 20 years ago, when medical cannabis was just a cookie and dosing was just a quarter of a cookie, a half a cookie, or a full cookie if you had cancer. People in the US back then were, women were making brownies, they were called. The brownies were virtually the medical cannabis of the time. So as the years, the decades have gone by, we've seen incredible change in the kind of products. I remember the first oil we made, people refused to take it. They said, that's not medical cannabis. Medical cannabis is a cookie. And then we made a spray and people adapted to that. Now we have capsules and suppositories and balms and all sorts of things that we didn't have before. In the meantime, the government's, doing this slow catch-up kind of a thing. But, it is a long story, but, it comes down to that the governments don't own cannabis. It's owned by a very small number of companies, and even another bunch of companies are getting international legitimacy, like the stuff we're buying in now from Canada and these products. They're quite high, very, very expensive oils and that. These are products that until 2015 were illegal in Canada. They didn't want them being made, and now they're not only being made, they're being sold to other countries. So governments here can respond to these really heartfelt current affairs stories and 7:30 report stories about people using medical cannabis and feeling better. So they're doing something, they're having to bend the laws. So, to get around the monopoly that is around, opium, cocaine, and cannabis. So, and with that, and with the rush, we've seen a lot of confusion, and rightly so, because when the governments and lobby, the politicians and the medical professions say, hey, we don't know enough, there's not enough clinical trials, that is a true and correct statement. There is not been enough clinical trials because they can't get access to the cannabis to do the clinical trials. So what we've seen and everything we're doing now is based on real solid anecdotal evidence, like stuff you can, virtually, you can call it science. The other thing is that, with that we've seen, people taking advantage of very sick people. Here in Australia it was very bad in the early days, people charging $10,000 on the web to cure your cancer, and it clearly was wrong. I suppose my main point that I try to tell people nowadays is we don't know enough about it. Do your own research, but don't believe everything you read and say. Like if you can clearly, you hear the people say all the time, don't believe everything you read, don't believe everything on Google and blah, blah, blah. But then when it comes to cannabis, there's people who just don't doubt a thing. You should be doubting a lot of what's being said. Finding out what you should doubt and what you shouldn't is the tricky part. But what we do know ultimately after all these decades of what we've been doing, cannabis works on everyone differently. And there's no two things that you would do. There's two, obviously things that you would start on. We definitely, our experience has given us the benefit of being able to confidently suggest some starting doses for people, and they build up from there. So everything else is really, quite subjective. And then you've got placebo effect. We've seen incredible placebo effects where even, it's brought clinical trials to a study. There is acute placebo effect that can stop clinical trials because, it's going to dumbfound the results. So, look, cannabis is good. It's a natural thing. It's been around for a long time and people should be trying it, but don't, you just can't believe everything you hear. And even, people who'll be talking here and things, leaflets that we give away, we can't back everything. The Hemp Embassy can't back everything that's being said. But just be safe in the knowledge that the product is safe. No one's died from it. You can use it. And we see that all the time in Nimbin. People who may have, been disparaging of Nimbin all their life are coming to Nimbin out of desperation. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. When you've got desperate people coming to a place like Nimbin to get some medical cannabis, we don't want to take advantage of those people. Parents with children, old people, or people bringing their parents in who are quite reluctant. So we're seeing all of that. But yeah, question everything. But at the end of the day, cannabis is a really good product, a very good agents in those cannabinoids. It's not even about the THC and CBD anymore. It's about the whole mix. The mix. There's 144. I think we're up to 146 cannabinoids now. I heard 2 more were developed last week. Again, big headlines the other week. They found these 2 more cannabinoids, and it's better than THC, and it's better than this, and it's better than that. And it just so happens it falls through the loophole, and it's legal. It's a legal cannabinoid. It's like CBD. So there's a lot of marketing going on. Look, the CBD talk on the net is a juggernaut. We introduced hemp laws and stuff here in Australia, here in New South Wales, and you go back over the debates, and not one mention of CBD. It just wasn't there. And then, it has cannabinoid or industrial hemp-derived cannabinoids has, really come to the fore now. And, when people come to us and talked about CBD and THC, it's really important. It's really easy for me because I can tell people there is no, and you'll win every argument, there is no CBD cannabis. There's high THC and there's low THC. And each of those genotypes have different cannabinoid profiles. It's the difference between the opium that's grown for medical purposes and the opium poppies that you can grow in your front yard and wear as remembrance. They have opium, morphine in them, but very low doses, and people can find relief from them. But we see examples all the time where people are coming back, starting off on CBD, it's a great product to start with, and then moving up to THC products, and kids as well. But other people are just finding great relief from CBD and CBD products. So it's really, even what I'm saying can be confusing. Confuses me. We see miracles. That's the easiest way to say what's going on. But just thanks everyone for coming. I'm going to head back up to the Hemp Embassy.
Before you go, so can you tell us the latest with the government? So there is an application in for leaf to happen, do you think?
Okay, there's 3 things, including the leaf. So we put the application for hemp seed food. We're the last country in the world to allow hemp seed for human consumption. It took us 9 years. So we've just actually put in a new application for hemp leaf products, sprouts and microgreens and things like that, being eaten all overseas, but our state governments and our police are going to spend millions of dollars to try and stop us from doing this. We'll be successful, but it's just going to take a bit of time. The other 2 parallel things that are going on at the moment, you've got the Greens who have called a parliamentary inquiry, and they're going to have witnesses and people asking questions of these people, and it's all about medical cannabis. But it's politics. If anyone can show me where the Greens have called an inquiry and been able to achieve, substantial benefits or changes after that, I'd like to see it. The Greens have had a few goes at trying to do medical cannabis. I'm the secretary of the Hemp Party. Personally, I wish they keep their nose out of it, because even if it's a good idea, the government won't do it because it's come from the Greens. On the other hand, what the government is actually doing now, they've just reviewed the 2016 amendments to the Narcotic Act, which brought about being able to grow cannabis for medical and scientific research. They've reviewed that. A guy called Jim McNally, ex-New South Wales Ombudsman, a total puppet of the government. He had no idea about medical cannabis, and he came to do a review on this act and said to everyone in this room, all corporates and companies, hey, I'm a blank canvas, I don't know anything about this, I need you guys to tell me what to look for so I can review the act. The act has been reviewed, so where the government's at now on medical cannabis is, they don't want to spend any money on it, so we're reviewing the cost recovery. So government companies are going to have to spend even more money to the Office of Drug Control to get a permit and licences to grow, even though they're very few and far between. Even if you've got your permit and your licence and you're growing, those companies haven't really been able to successfully make products to go to patients. The other thing they're doing is changing the system. Instead of applying for a licence to grow, cultivate, manufacture and possess whatever you can, and then you've got to apply for a permit. After you get your licence, then you've got to apply for the permits, the corresponding permits. They're going to a single permit system. So while the government is strengthening its rules around cost recovery and permits for companies that are already in the game, the Greens are saying, oh, if we have this inquiry, we're just going to change it all and it's all just going to happen. So you've got to question everything. But yeah, that's kind of it from me. And the hemp leaf thing, there's nothing people can do really. You can write to your local government, your local member and stuff, but that's not going to make any difference. There's people, public servants and lobbyists who get paid far more than the ministers, and the pollies come and go. We've been at this a long time. I think we're on our 12th health minister. So Greg Hunt is and he can't last much longer on this medical cannabis. We'll see a change soon. And we can almost write the script of what the new health minister's going to say, how he doesn't know about this, I've just been made aware, and he'll appear on the TV with new patients and we're going to do it. And it's the same thing, the Baird thing. Everyone remember Bob Carr doing medical cannabis and wanting to do it? We didn't get very far. Anyway, so I'll leave you with Michael, and just have a great weekend. Thanks everyone for, putting up with the rain and getting here. Good on you. Yeah. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.
So he's going to go up to Hemp Embassy, and if anyone, there are consultants here you can talk to about medical cannabis, and we can help you find your way to access. Any undercover police here today? So if you want to try CBD or THC or anything, we can help you here today. There's a few really interesting products. A couple of things I want to just reinforce that Andrew said.